we would like to begin by acknowledging that the land on which we gather is the traditional, unceded, unsurrendered territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabeg people. Welcome to the Sharing Circle podcast. My name is Arno Kaplan, and today we're welcoming Trey Laprise, project coordinator for BGIS, to talk about his background and how he's helping BGIS achieving the Progressive Aboriginal certification, also known as PAR. Hi, Trey. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Hello, yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Great. So, Trey, first question. What is your background?
Yeah, absolutely. So I am from Fort McMurray, Alberta, which I am Dene, Chippewa Prairie First Nation of Treaty 8. A little bit of background of Treaty 8. It encompasses areas such as northern Alberta, northwestern BC, and the southwest portion of the Northwest Territories.
Okay. So, Trey, what are you working on currently in your position as a project coordinator for BGIS?
Absolutely. So my full title is the project coordinator for Indigenous programs. So at the moment, with BGIS, I've been here for roughly 7 months now.
Okay.
And with my role, I'm actually coordinating and leading our company towards PAR certification.
Okay.
So PAR stands for Progressive Aboriginal Relations. A little bit of background about PAR is that it's a certification program. And what it does is it confirms corporate performances within their Indigenous relations. So it's credited on 3 different tiers. You have your bronze, silver, and gold. And depending on the jury results, your company then becomes awarded their status. So a little bit of background of what we're doing now with PAR. There is a 59 question criteria that is required by the CCAB and PAR to accomplish and become that PAR certified. So we're on our mission at the moment to do that. So the way that this ties into my role specifically is that I have to coordinate and assist the completion of all of these 59 actions to become PAR certified. So at the moment, that's where my whole focus kind of ties in with BGIS in my current role. A little bit more specifically, I guess, on what I'm doing with the PAR certification. The best way to do that is understand the 4 pillars that PAR is based on, and that is your leadership actions, your employment, your business development, and your community relationships. So we're right now coordinating with what BGIS has done with different Indigenous communities, along with our procurement involvement with Indigenous spend and Indigenous databases. And then we're also looking into employment retention and Indigenous students as well. So there's a lot that goes into PAR. So it's pretty simple to understand that I'm only doing PAR certification with my role, but there's a lot that goes into it.
Yeah, these are 4 big pillars, and I think with very different problematics and challenges and realities, right? Like community and procurement and hiring are different areas.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And you said you had 59 questions that you needed to answer in order to be
PAR certified.
Certified, yeah, PAR certified.
Yeah.
59 questions. So can you give an example of those kind of questions? Are they related? I mean, in my mind, maybe, I don't know much about it, but are they related to the 4 pillars you're talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So each 4 pillar it's like chapters of a book. So there's 4 chapters, and under each chapter you have a range between 11 to 15 or 16 questions per pillar.
Got it.
And per those pillars comes like specific actions. Like for an example, something that we're working on with the community relationships is outlining BGIS's community of interests and outlining where or our progress from where we planned the COIs to where we are now, and who not only are we communicated with, but who we actually built a relationship with as well. So that's one of the aspects to the community relationships as an example. Another thing too is employment. So in Indigenous employee rates, we want them to be higher. So there was an action plan created to look back and say, okay, what's our plan? What was our plan? If it was successful, what can we take from that? And if it wasn't, what can we do to change it to make it successful, to bring in not only new Indigenous employees, but retain the ones that we already have as well.
Okay. And is this applicable to the whole Canada or
Yes,
specific?
absolutely.
Yeah, whole
Yep. Yeah,
Canada.
all regions.
Okay. So you were like reviewing the approach of doing like the general and you're trying to like standardize the process so everybody can be on the same page. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there a council in charge of reviewing the PAR candidate?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a PAR working group. And within our PAR working group, it consists mainly at the moment of executives or high level managers. The reason for making our PAR working group full and capacity full of executives is because they can have the authority and the opportunity to not only achieve the plans that we have for our Indigenous pillars, but they also hold that standing where they can provide the information on anything that needs to be provided. So it's a lot easier having executives in that PAR committee. So that's what we have currently. Realistically, in the PAR committee, yes, it is executives, but everyone's a part of PAR. Whether you're with corporate BGIS or a contract BGIS, you are you're everyone's playing a critical part in PAR. So right now, for an example, the reason why I say that is because cultural awareness training has begun for some time, for a little bit of time now, and it's now becoming mandatory for all employees.
Yeah.
So that just goes into understanding, and getting the education and the knowledge of, not only the history of Indigenous peoples, but also understanding, the realities of today. So it's great to, become aware. So that's why it's so impactful that we kind of understand that PAR is for everyone.
You're talking about a committee of executives. Are they from BGIS?
Yes, yeah, they're all part of BGIS.
Okay.
Also, that's included as the RP1 Indigenous Engagement Team. They are also part of the PAR working group. So yeah, as I mentioned, it's just it's a big working group that gets together and discusses, open actions, progress reports, and understanding, where we are with our PAR and where we are with our Indigenous initiatives.
Okay. And when do you know that the moment has come that you will submit the application for the PAR?
Yeah, so the PAR application is due April 1st.
Okay.
So there's a process that it goes through. In April 1st, we submit to PAR directly our 59 actions and questions, along with some other data and checklist data as well. So that's got to be completed. On top of this, also there is a verifier. So we actually selected our verifier already, and they come in and they do an on-site visit and inspection. And essentially what they do is they go through all 59 questions. They then do interviews with the company as well. So they'll be interviewing the PAR working group. They'll interview Indigenous employees. They will interview communities that we have engaged with through BGIS. And they're going to talk to and they're going to ask questions and essentially go down to the specifics to understand what we're doing, because that's what they want to understand, is that we are committed to Indigenous affairs and we are committed to our community engagement with Indigenous communities and people. So that's where it all so that's the big process with the verifier. Then the verifier submits that to a jury. So the jury is comprised of Indigenous business people who will then review and at a later date around September, October, then provide the companies with their PAR standing. So whether that be if you're PAR certified, if you're bronze, silver, or gold, or whatever, or what it may be that you achieve. But it's great that there's an on-site visit. To have a verifier and a jury review is amazing. Me in particular, in my understanding, is because it helps have that genuine and authentic commitment from the company. From the corporate world and the reality that we know today, especially being Indigenous, it's very clear that, a lot of companies may say or do specifics that help them achieve things in the Indigenous economic world, but is there a authentic and genuine commitment to that? So coming out of university, it's an ongoing joke. When you graduate, you can't be picky about where you get hired, but I was, because where I had such a passion for what I wanted to do, I wanted to ensure I was coming to a workplace where there was that authentic and that genuine commitment to the Indigenous, economic society today. And BGIS was absolutely, above and beyond those expectations. So it's been awesome to work in what we are so far.
And what does it bring? What value does it bring to a company to have the PAR certification? What difference does it make?
Absolutely. So when companies become PAR certified, they promote their PAR level, which signals to communities that they are good business partners, they are great places to work, and they are committed to the prosperity in Indigenous communities. So with those three, impactful factors, you're not only, being being an ally towards Indigenous communities and people, but it's also working towards reconciliation. And that's the biggest thing that, especially that I have incorporated, working with the Indigenous engagement team and working with, the executives, is working towards that reconciliation. So that's something that I've incorporated. That's something that I've learned coming into this job. So it like I said before, it's been an awesome process, and but yeah.
Yeah. And the way I see it, and the way I see it, how you described it, it's not only about the certification, right? Like, I see the certification, the PAR, only as like the beginning of increasing relationships and connecting better with Indigenous peoples. Trey, where do you see yourself in 5 years?
Yeah, that's a fun one. In 5 years, I want to already have built a career. I want to that professional portfolio per se, and I want to be able to master my skills within the Indigenous business society. I want to hold a tremendous amount of knowledge and experience that can help me become a mentor, and help help the Indigenous society in more ways than I can possibly even think of right now. Being that mentor, will allow me to not only, help me personally become successful in the Indigenous profession, but also help others. That's something that, I have to thank my parents for, my mother and my father, because I am a strong believer in always ensuring that people around me are, always, pushed to help them in any way possible. So that's what I excel towards, and a 5-year plan, being that mentor. Even if I get to help one person, whether that be an artist or whether that be an entrepreneur, or help a company, if it's anything that can outline that progress for me in 5 years, I'm going to be very happy, and that's where I do see myself.
Inspiring.
Thank you.
And it's giving back too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's it. Yeah. Because a lot of the time too, and this is another topic that, I it's not that I don't like to talk about this specific topic because it's hard to understand. Especially for non-Indigenous people. I was and it always sounds bad when I say this, but I was lucky to have parents who moved off the reserve before I was born. The reason I say that is because it allowed me the opportunity to, get a proper education, to have opportunities through sports, and to also, get my secondary education degree. So all of those things happened because my parents, were strong enough and, were very hard on themselves to provide more for my sister and I. So that's something that I kind of like to tie back and to help to understand, non-Indigenous people, because it's not easy getting education on the reserve. It's not easy to get job opportunities on the reserve. It's actually quite difficult. And a lot of the time, if you look at your nearest reserve, sometimes it's an hour and a half, 2 hours, 3 hours away from any town or city limits. So right there's already restrictions to what can be achieved. And some of them have never even lived outside of the reserve, so they don't even know what opportunities are there for them. So that's something that I'm very inspired towards, not completely changing, but helping make an impact to where, recognition can be seen and can furthermore open up more opportunities for Indigenous people.
Thank you for this. Finally, Trey, what are you trying to accomplish in your role, and what is your vision?
Absolutely. So one thing that I've mentioned already, and I'm very proud to say it again, I am my vision and what I'm hoping for in trying to accomplish is providing the authentic and genuine commitment to reconciliation and Indigenous communities and people. The biggest thing for me, like I mentioned, joining the company that I wanted to work for out of university, I wanted to ensure that there was that genuine and authentic commitment, because without that, especially from your executive and your higher management, without that commitment, you're not going to succeed. And especially with PAR, PAR is going to look at, your reports and say, yes, they might have checked yes to everything plus some, but, there was no commitment from their leaders. So that's why I'm very blessed in the position that I'm in, because I do have the opportunity to not only witness, but be a part of that commitment from our executive and leadership group. So I feel like coming in with PAR and being the PAR lead, I feel like I have accomplished, bits and pieces of that vision, but there's still always more. There's always more pieces of the puzzle, and there's always more that I want to put together. So with all that being said, realistically, my vision and what I want to accomplish is today's society, it's to help it excel, but with Indigenous culture and with Indigenous people, with Indigenous communities, because together it's an unstoppable force. And, that's another step towards reconciliation, right? It's just one step at a time. And, we're now in 2024. So it's a great time to, start mastering, the Indigenous education, start mastering the Indigenous economic growth, and understanding how that growth is becoming so impactful to Canada. So that's kind of my main, vision, my main, accomplishment that I want to reach. Obviously, getting PAR certified is a accomplishment that not only I want to achieve, but I think BGS would be very honored to achieve as well. So, obviously that's coming up in April. So we have a couple months. We're getting the last bits and pieces into our reports. So that's very exciting. And then, one last thing I wanted to mention that I've already kind of talked about is, becoming that mentor in this line of work. I want to be someone who the Indigenous community can look at, not only as, someone who can help progress them, but I also want to be a partner with them. I don't want to be a mentor that takes a lead or a mentor that, has to be in control of something. I want to be a partner with Indigenous communities, not just my current community. I want to be partners with so many, and I want to be able to mentor and inspire so many other Indigenous people, and it doesn't have to be, young, students. It can also be, Indigenous people that are, older, because you can start, your success story whenever you want. That is one of the biggest things that, I like to understand and preach, because it's very true. You don't have to be young to go to university. You don't have to be young to become an entrepreneur. You can do all these things at whatever age you are. If you have a great idea and you want to make it a reality, do it. That's the biggest thing that I can express. So I mean, just becoming a part of that Indigenous growth and that recognition is something that that I inspired to accomplish.
And I can already see the mentor in you, Trey. So keep on.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I'll go there. Well, Trey, it's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for listening, everyone. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give us a like and subscribe to our channel. Take care.